Of Simonov's two visitors, one was Furfichkin, a Russianized German, a little fellow with the face of a monkey, a blockhead who was always deriding everyone, a very bitter enemy of mine from our days in the lower forms, a vulgar, impudent, swaggering fellow who affected a most sensitive feeling of personal honor, though of course he was a wretched little coward at heart. He was one of those worshippers of Zverkov who made up the latter from interested motives and often borrow money from him. Simonov's other visitor, Trudolyubov, was a person in no way remarkable, a tall young fellow in the army with a cold face, fairly honest, though he worshipped success of every sort, and was only capable of thinking of promotion. He was some sort of distant relation of Zverkov's, and this, foolish as it seemed, gave him a certain importance among us. He always thought me of no consequence whatever. His behavior to me, though not quite courteous, was tolerable. Well, with 7 rubles each, said Truyubov, 21 rubles between the three of us, we ought to be able to get a good dinner. Zverkov, of course, won't pay. Of course not, since we are inviting him, Simonov decided. Can you imagine? Furfitchikin interrupted hotly and conceitedly, like some insolent flunky boasting of his master, the general's decorations. Can you imagine that Zverkov will let us pay alone? He will accept from delicacy, but he will order 6 bottles of champagne. Do we want 6 for the 4 of us? Observe Trudolo taking notice only of the 6. So the 3 of us with Zverkov for the 4th, 21 rubles, at the Hotel de Paris at 5 o'clock tomorrow. Simonov, who had been asked to make the arrangements, concluded finally. How 21 rubles? I asked, in some agitation, with a show of being offended. If you count me, it will not be 21, but 28 rubles. It seemed to me that to invite myself so suddenly and unexpectedly would be positively graceful, and that they would all be conquered at once and would look at me with respect. Do you want to join too? Simonov observed, with no appearance of pleasure, seeming to avoid looking at me. He knew me through and through. It infuriated me that he knew me so thoroughly. Why not? I am an old schoolfellow of his too, I believe, and I must own, I feel hurt that you have left me out, I said, boiling over again. And where were we to find you? Ferfitchkin put in roughly. You never were on good terms with Zverkov, Trudolyubov added, frowning. But I already had clutched at the idea and would not give it up. It seems to me That no one has a right to form an opinion upon that, I retorted in a shaking voice, as though something tremendous had happened. Perhaps that is just my reason for wishing it now, that I have not always been on good terms with him. Oh, there's no making you out with these refinements, Trudolyubov jeered. Well, put your name down, Simonov decided, addressing me. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock at the Hôtel de Paris. What about the money? Ferfitchkin began in an undertone, indicating me to Simonov. But he broke off, for even Simonov was embarrassed. That will do, said Trudolyub, getting up. If he wants to come so much, let him. But it's a private thing between us friends, Ferfitchkin said crossly as he too picked up his hat. It's not an official gathering. We do not want at all, perhaps. They went away. Ferfitchkin did not greet me in any way as he went out. Trudolyubov barely nodded. Simonov, with whom I was left tête-à-tête, was in a state of vexation and perplexity and looked at me queerly. He did not sit down and did not ask me to. Yes, tomorrow then. Will you pay your subscription now? I just asked so as to know, he muttered in embarrassment. I flushed crimson as I did so. I remember that I had owed Simonov 15 rubles for ages, which I had indeed never forgotten, though I had not paid it. You will understand, Simonov, that I could have no idea when I came here. I am very much vexed that I had forgotten. All right, that doesn't matter. You can pay tomorrow after the dinner. I simply wanted to know. Please don't. He broke off and began pacing the room, still more vexed. As he walked, he began to stamp with his heels. Am I keeping you? I asked after 2 minutes of silence. Oh, he said, starting. That is, to be truthful, yes. I have to go and see someone not far from here, he added in an apologetic voice, somewhat abashed. My goodness, why didn't you say so? I cried, seizing my cap with an astonishingly free and easy air, which was the last thing I should have expected of myself. It's close by, not 2 paces away, Simonov repeated, accompanying me to the front door with a fussy air which did not suit him at all. So, 5 o'clock punctually tomorrow, he called down the stairs after me. He was very glad to get rid of me. I was in a fury. What possessed me? What possessed me to force myself upon them? I wondered, grinding my teeth as I strode along the street. For a scoundrel, a pig like Svorkov? Of course I had better not go. Of course I must just snap my fingers at them. I am not bound in any way. I will send Simonov a note by tomorrow post. But what made me furious was that I knew for certain that I should go, that I should make a point of going, and the more tactless, the more unseemly my going would be, the more certainly I would go. and there was a positive obstacle to my going. I had no money. All I had was 9 rubles. I had to give 7 of that to my servant, Apollon, for his monthly wages. That was all I paid him. He had to keep himself. Not to pay him was impossible, considering his character, but I will talk about that fellow, about that plague of mine another time. However, I knew I should go and should not pay him his wages. That night, I had the most hideous dreams. No wonder. All the evening I had oppressed by memories of my miserable days at school, and I could not shake them off.